Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I remember in my very early years when I went to Madrasa Sayyid al-Khui to study, a question arose in my mind that deprived me of every state of peace of mind that I could imagine. And for days and weeks and months, I was engrossed in this thought until I finally decided to leave it to God for Him to resolve it within my mind. And that question was, well, God knows all, past, present, and future. As such, He doesn't have a past or a future. He has the eternal now. And nothing can defy His knowledge. Everything has to occur and happen in the way that God knows. Then what is the point of me standing here in the depths of the night and supplicating to Him and praying to Him? He knows exactly what will happen, and therefore even if He changes, He knew what was going to happen. And that question is a disturbing one when it occurs to the mind. Then you ask, well, what am I doing in this world, and is it really an opportunity? Isn't it really determined? Because nothing can defy the knowledge of God. And a glaring proof of this are the verses of the Quran. God speaks to Hazrat Isa on the day of judgment, 1400 years ago when these verses were revealed. Isa, did you say to them, take me and my mother as gods beside God? And Isa responds, God, why should I say that for which I have no right? And if I have said it, then you indeed would have known it. You know what is in my soul. I do not know what is in your soul. So this conversation that is being had with Isa is being had on the day of judgment. And the day of judgment has not transpired. And this conversation has been recorded 1,400 years prior to the time I myself am reading it. The Quran also records and narrates the words of the Blessed Prophet on the day of Qiyamah, in which the Prophet says, O Lord, my nation or people abandoned the Quran. You have a conversation between the divine and the prophets, the day in which the prophets will be asked, what was the response given to you? And they will say, well, we have no knowledge. We bore witness for as long as we were with them. And after you took us away, we have no knowledge. You find such conversations scattered in the pages of the Quran. Often we find this conversation that people are saying to the divine, give us another chance and we will do righteous deeds this time. Or conversations are being narrated on that day. It is as if it's all happened. It's all known. Now, if it's all known and if it's all happened, then what's the point of this life, even if we were to make a distinction between spirit and the body and then say that body is a place of opportunity for us to awaken to our true selves and for us to emerge in the beauty of what we truly are. Is it really an opportunity when God really knows exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to happen? And can anybody see this as an opportunity if it's known and a done deal? That's a very unsettling thought, and it's a very confusing one. But then when you go into the Quran, you find sets of verses that say, well, God has yet to know who amongst you are faithful as opposed to those who are not faithful. Now, these types of verses are also there within the Quran, but not as frequently as the other ones. But it places God in the present, within the human life as the human life is unfolding. So we find two faces of God. The one that is an eternal one. in whose case before and after don't have any meaning. And one is the God who is at present with us and observing and seeing everything that is taking place at present. There's a distinction Quran makes between the Creator God aspect, who is really giving us this opportunity and who is seeing us work through this opportunity. And it's a real story and a real opportunity. And a God who is beyond everything imaginable, who instantly knows everything in the now. There is no past, there is no present, everything is lumped together. So when we see this, we will say, no, there is a distinction between God in the capacity of regulating the bodies and God beyond the capacity of regulating the bodies. Now, we will discuss in the next talk if it is indeed a very real opportunity or it is all known. But for now, what I want to resolve is that as soon as Isa dies, the hereafter has come upon Isa, and therefore that conversation has taken place. After the bodily, the hereafter has a very different sense of time. Imam Ali, in one of his traditions, did say that do not imagine the progression of time after death to be the same as the progression of time whilst in your worldly lives. Million years and 2 years will not seem different. And we can see this in the story of Hazrat Shu'aib, I think, where he questions within his own soul, how will God resurrect this destroyed village? And the Quran says, and God killed him for 100 years. When he was awoken or restored, the question was posed to him, how long did you stay there? He said, a day or a portion of a day. He was told, look at your donkey. It's been reduced to dust. And look at your food. It is untouched. So the food for 100 years was as fresh as it was when the Prophet was put to death. The donkey undergoes proper 100 years time span. And the Blessed Prophet is in a state where he does experience the lapse of time, but in a very different manner. So there are three things here experiencing time differently. So Imam Ali said, after you die, do not think of time in the same way as you think of it now. So the response to that could be that when Isa dies, his conversation is taking place. And as soon as we die, we will witness that conversation taking place. In case of the people who are being narrated as saying, God, give us another chance, either they have died and gone, or as with any setup, we know some of the students are going to fail and are going to plead with the instructor to give them another chance, because it's a story that has happened previously with other creations. They have died, they have gone on, and this was their exact response. And you by nature are not very different, so you too will come out with the same responses. You're not the first class at this college or university to undergo a course of studies and will give an exam. There will be many who will pass, there will be some who will fail, as we can see. You're not studying hard enough, and you will come and say and plead for another chance. So all of these verses can be understood very, very clearly through the example of our world. The thing we need to understand is that the God who is regulating the bodies has given us, or in the aspect of regulating the bodies, has given us a real chance in this world. So prayers can be made to God. because it's all in the now. We are in the making. The knowledge of God is another facet of God's function. It is not influencing the story at present in which the destiny is being made, and I will explain that in the talk that follows this one. So the knowledge of God is the absolute knowledge of the spirited side. The knowledge of God that is evolving with us is the knowledge of God in the capacity of God being the author of human life on earth and giving us an opportunity. Here, what we would like to think about is that prayers made to God, reaching out to God, is a very real process. God knowing the outcome is another facet of God. We should not conflate the two together, so that our yearning of God can be deep and meaningful, and we do not waste this life by saying, well, whatever is destined will happen. There's a very different way of looking at destiny, as we will explain in a little while. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.